Hi, this is Richard Jacobs from myduiattorney.org. I'm here with Michael Byrne. He's a criminal defense attorney out of Illinois in Clarendon Hills. How you doing, Mr. Byrne?
Doing good.
Hey, thanks for taking the time to do the interview. I really appreciate it.
Glad to do it.
If it's all right with you, we'll get right into the questions. My
Okay.
first question is, what makes you choose to handle DUI cases as part of your practice, and what motivates you in general to be a criminal defense attorney?
We'll start out with the second part of that question. To be a criminal defense attorney, I think, is what can make this country great. It separates our country from what we've seen go on in Northern Africa the last couple of months, where frequently you see a police state and people have no rights. In our country, we have the rights to due process, we have the right to a lawyer, and we have the right to fair representation in a court. And without lawyers checking the police would get away with far more than they do.
Okay. And then, in particular, DUI cases, what makes you choose to deal in that area?
Uh, I found that over the last 30 years, the pendulum with respect to DUIs has only swung one way, and the police have become increasingly aggressive at arresting people for DUIs, whether it's the quotas they have or whether it's because of making more money for making court appearances. But they seem to arrest anyone they can for DUIs, and they seem to try to get a certain number of arrests. So I think it's important that aggressive criminal defense lawyers step in. And frequently I've found that people are charged with DUI that were not under the influence or were improperly charged or their rights were violated in some way.
Okay. So, how many of these DUI cases have you handled in all the years of your practice?
Well, I've been a lawyer for just about 30 years, so
Wow.
it's hard to say, but over 1,000.
Okay, that's a long time. Of all the clients you've seen over the years, is there any typical one? Are there more first-time offenders, or more men than women? Are there any commonalities?
I found that both people and clients are across the board. I've seen people that are under the limit charged. I've seen people that should be legally dead charged.
Huh.
I've represented lawyers and doctors charged with DUI, and I've represented hardworking blue collar people charged with DUI. So I've found really no common theme to people that are charged with DUI or a common theme to the type of case, which I think it's important that you treat each case uniquely because each case is different and each case does present new possible defenses.
Okay. And I guess referring to your legally dead versus not even intoxicated answer, do you tend to have more clients that are close to the point of weight limit, or a lot more than that, or lower?
Again, I think the range is all over the board, and sometimes you'll get a high blow, but there might be some error with the machine. So,
Okay.
you can't just take the paper you see and presume it's accurate because there's many things that we have to challenge on a daily basis.
I guess, out of morbid curiosity, what's like the highest BAC level you've ever seen? Where
I did see a .4 once, and it was unbelievable that the person was alive.
Wow. Okay. And out of the cases you see, do you see a lot more for alcohol DUI or drug DUI?
Uh, I'd say in recent years we're seeing more and more drug DUI. And one thing that I think people are unaware of but need to keep in mind is that you could get a DUI while under the influence of prescription medication and not even an illegal drug. But if it impairs your ability to drive, you can be charged with DUI.
Okay. So in the cases that you see for drug DUI, whether it's prescription or illegal, are those any harder or easier to defend versus alcohol cases?
It really depends how they're charged. They have different ways that they can charge drug DUI in the state of Illinois. And they can charge it as a strict liability that any amount of cannabis, for example, they could be charged with DUI, even if you smoke, say, 20 days before and you're not really impaired. So there's different challenges to each way they charge DUI under the influence of drugs.
So it's possible if you, let's say you smoke cannabis, like you said, 20 days ago, and you're totally sober, you got pulled over, but for some reason the officer wants to compel a blood test, and it shows up you have metabolites in your system. Is that called DUI? Is that called something
Yeah,
else?
it can be called DUI, and the statute, in my opinion, obviously is not written fairly, but we do have to fight those cases, just like we have to fight people that are charged that aren't under the legal limit alcohol-wise.
Okay. Um, this may be hard to answer, but is there any uniqueness about the DUI laws in the particular counties you serve or cities? Or
I think the one thing that's important for anyone to consider if they are charged is they do need a lawyer, because depending how you're charged, at least in Illinois, if you're charged with by a state prosecutor or a local prosecutor, that makes a big difference.
huh,
And then depending on what courtroom you're in, as a lawyer, I know what judges are better to try cases in front of, or which judges are better to plea bargain. Same with the prosecutors. I know which ones are easier to work with and harder to work with, and
okay.
so I think that is the uniqueness to any jurisdiction is to know the players and for them to know you, and and I think also it's important that at least the judges I appear in front of, if I go to trial, I think the judges have enough respect for me that they realize that I don't go to trial unless I think I have a good chance to win the case.
Okay.
It's, or at least that I have a solid defense.
Right.
So like you acquire a certain amount of respect from the bench, and that's helpful in the practice.
Yeah, as a potential client, if you told me that you knew all the players, I'd feel a lot better and more comfortable because it's not only am I not going in alone, but I have someone that they know, and it seems like it'd be a lot more comfortable for me.
Yeah, the familiarity is important, I think, and I think if both the state attorney and judge that I'm working in front of or against, when they have a level of trust in me, it makes everything go smoother, and it makes the likelihood of success for my client certainly be better.
And you mentioned, what was it, city prosecutors versus state
Yeah,
prosecutors?
if you're charged with a local DUI in the area where I practice, the local prosecutors have a little more discretion to plea bargain the case than the state's attorney's office.
Oh,
So,
okay.
uh, you want to know who those people are and what their limits are as far as what they're willing to do.
Okay, I didn't know there was a distinction. Yeah.